Right, so what happens if I am inside posts, and right here inside post, I'm gonna get just a list of posts. Let's pretend that we want that. Let's build it, why not? So I'm gonna have the post number 1, then I'm gonna have the post number 2, for example, and then maybe post number 3. Just 3 simple posts. Good. So whenever I load this application, I'm gonna have this list. I'm gonna bring the link module right here, just like we are doing it right here. Just gonna copy all of this, go to posts, and paste it down here. I'm going somewhere, don't worry. And then what we need to do, we need to link to a specific post. So this post list is gonna come from a database, let's say whatever database. And this of course is gonna do the linkage to the actual posts. So we're gonna use a link, we're gonna wrap a link just right here. And we're gonna say link, and then just, link. Let me finish. Good. And this of course is going to be have a to property, and this is going to be to / posts, and we already have that path, which is going to be posts right here, posts, and it's going to be post / and then maybe number 1, and then we're going to have the 2 and the 3. So I'm going to go and paste that. It's going to be 2 and 3. Okay. So let's go to home. I'm going to go to home, and I want to go to posts. So I'm going to get my post number 1, post number 2, and post number 3. Of course, we need to add a break just to make it a little bit better. And there we go. So, okay, we have this list. So I'm going to click on post number 1, and it's going to go to localhost / posts / and number 1. This is going to be the ID of our post. Now, the thing is that whenever I go to this route, I want to fetch the data that belongs to this post, to the ID number 1. And if we go right here, we are only getting whatever it's inside post. We are getting the other route, this route. So what we need to do, we need a way to create, a module that it's going to be listening for this route, and then it's going to render the data that we have for post number 1. Okay, so I'm going to create that route. And again, I'm going somewhere, don't worry. I'm going to create a new file, and this one is going to be, I don't know, post item, makes sense? Post item.js, good. So inside post item, pretty much we're going to have the same thing than this. Going to go to post item, delete, and right here I'm going to say post detail. Okay, we don't need the link right here, and we need to pass to create this to put a different name. So let's put post item. Good. Of course, we need to export it, and we need to require this file from the index so we can require the path. So I'm going to say import and then post item. Very good. It's going to be from and then dash components and then / and then post item. Okay, so this route is ready. Good. So now I'm going to create a post. I'm going to create a route for this. I'm going to copy this, going to paste it at the bottom. I'm going to say whenever we get a post with an ID, and in this case, let's pretend that we want the number 1. We're going to be using the route for post item. We're going to be using this component. Good. Let's test it out. So if we go to post 1, we are getting posts and we are getting 1. But, we are getting the post detail. We are getting that component. We are getting that text. Good. But we are still getting the post, the main parent component. And the thing is that both routes have posts. So what we need to do to this one, we need to say exact. Good. So now we are getting the post detail. Now the thing is that right now this ID, it's hard-coded, and in real life this ID is going to be dynamic. You could be receiving a request for post number 1, post number 2, post 56, or whatever. And notice that right here I'm doing 56, but this is not working because we have the number 1 hard-coded. So we need a way to make this field dynamic, and this are called params. We need to use a feature from React to use params. Now to pass dynamic data to listen for dynamic data right here, what we're going to use is the colon. We're going to say colon and then whatever we want to listen. In this case, we are passing an ID, so I'm going to say ID. Now if I do ID, I have 56 right here, but I'm still getting the post detail. If you go to post detail, we just have a text, but it's loading this. So, it's working. Whenever you use colon, you're saying that you want to use that dynamic value right here. And this could be whatever you want. Let's say that first we want the ID and then, for example, the user name, something like that. Of course, nothing is going to happen because we need a username. I'm going to say the username of this guy is going to be Francis, and it's going to load that data. It's going to load that component because we have a match right here. So now the thing is that, okay, we are passing dynamic data. How can we catch it inside here? How can we get that data? Because whenever you get a request for this, you're going to enter this component, this view, and you need to grab the 56, the Francis, and then you need to go to the database, do whatever you need to do, and render that post. Well, remember that we talked about the browse router and everything else, that whenever we use React router, it's going to pass all the options inside props. Well, same idea. I'm going to go right here and say props. And of course, if I do console log and then props, let me bring the console, make this a little bit bigger. Oh, no, that's fine. So I'm going to be I'm console log the props, and inside match right here, just like before, we have all the data for this. And right here you have params. You have the ID and the username. So right here, what we could say, okay, do just render the props dot match dot params dot ID in this case, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the username. Let me put it right here. I'm gonna say dash and then params and then username. Good. So now every time we load a route with dynamic data, we are catching that data, and then you can do whatever you wish right here. Let's put something else. Let's say 888 and then Janice, whatever. So we get the data. You always get the information you're getting. React router is going to pass the information inside props. So, props are really, really important for us to pass information between components. So you're going to be using this the whole time. We're going to be using this the whole time. Good. So let's go to a different topic right now. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some additional features of React Router. Now, instead of using browser router, just like we are using right here, we could use an alternative way to manipulate the URL we get on top. For example, instead of bringing the browser router, I'm going to say hash router, just like that, hash router. So this one is going to make the URL a little bit different. And notice that we are getting an error message. Browser router, it's not defined. And the thing is that if we use this one, we cannot use browser router right here. We need to replace this for hash router. Good. And if we reload the page, we are getting it. And notice that at the end of the URL, the domain, the main domain, so we are getting a hashtag and then /. So whenever we use this, the URL is going to be built just like this. If I go to posts, after the hashtag, then you get the URL. If I go to profile, we get profile, hashtag, and then profile. So this is the way it works with this. So, again, it depends on what you're building and what you want to do. If you want to use the normal URL or then hashtag / the URL. This was very common with the first versions of Angular. I use this a lot. So, okay, we have another one that is going to be called memory router. And by the keyword memory, you can guess what this is going to do. So whenever we use memory router, instead of getting a URL, we are not going to get anything. Everything is going to be stored in memories. It's not going to change the URL, or it's not going to show you what you're getting. If I go to home, we get home. If I go to posts, we are getting the posts, view posts, but nothing is going to happen to the URL. And again, just like I told before, this depends on what you're building. In my opinion, the browser router, it's the best, because everyone it's familiar with this with the URL, and where most people, whenever they use change something or do something, they look at the URL, and having the URL with the directories and everything else, it's really, really useful. So most of the times you're going to be using browser router, but it's good to know that we have different choices right here. Okay, so moving on, instead of just using regular links for the header right here, we have a different option. React Router is going to give us something that is going to be called navlink. If we want to use a navigation bar just like this, we can bring something that is going to be called navlink. So navlink is going to create a navigation for you. It's going to give you the link, the option to use links with navlink, but you have some additional options. I'm going to change all of this to navlink, and then same thing right here. Okay, and of course, if I reload the page, nothing happens. Everything stays the same. But for example, with navlink, you get some additional options. Let me just break it down. So instead of, well, besides the two, you have one option that is going to be active style. So you can choose which color this link is going to show whenever it's active. In this case, I'm going to say color. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Inside the double curly braces, I'm going to say color, and I'm going to say red. And of course, notice that this is just CSS. So if I go to home, getting nothing. If I go to posts, notice that the posts, it's highlighted. So it's changing the color. Let me inspect this. We get the color red. And if we go right here, we have style and color red. So this is just the styling for this. But you know, it's a nice option that we can use. Now, since we can use the styles, we can use classes. Instead of active style, I'm going to say active. It was active class name, I believe. Active, and then class name. So same thing, we can pass a class, the name of class. So in this case, I'm going to say selected, just like that, selected. Of course, if we reload the page and I inspect the post's link, I'm going to get the class of selected whenever it's selected. And if I go to home, of course, we don't have that class. So, you know, that's good. This is good. It's nice to use, and nice to know that we have this feature with React Router. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. We're going to be talking about React Router switch. It's going to be a short one, but it's really useful. So if you don't know about React Router switch, just go to the next section.